Hello. Hello, let me share. So I want to talk about it's not safe to be me, or it's not safe to expand, or it's not safe to share what I want to share, or it's not safe to speak my truth, or it's not safe, the list sort of goes on and on. It's not safe for me to be more visible. It's not safe for me to put myself out there. It's not safe for me to do certain things. All of that. So we're going to be talking about that today. Okay, I shared. And I'm going to keep this open in case you have questions, because I don't think I always see them on the phone for some reason. It's user error. That's the reason. Just to be clear. So a lot of us have some version of this fear, right? And whether it's that we want to try something new, but we think it's not safe. We want to quit our jobs and we don't think it's safe. We want to speak a bit more truth about who we are and what we believe, but we think we're going to be shunned, or people will be angry at us, or we'll be in trouble. Maybe you want, if you're in business like me, being more visible can be really scary, because the more people who know who you are, the more people who are going to, all the things that you see on the internet, right? Hate on you, blah, 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 right? So being more visible has risks to it. So we have a lot of this sense of safety that comes up over and over. And I was talking about this with a dear friend last night on the phone, and I thought, I've got to make a video about this. Because there are 3 approaches to the fears around personal safety. And I'm going to go through all 3 of them, because all 3 of them are relevant to every single one of us, right? So you get to pick and choose from these 3 approaches at every time, depending on what's coming up for you. So here's approach number 1 to it's not safe to be me. It's not safe to do what I want. It's not safe to speak out for myself. It's not safe to even go for a walk in the neighborhood by myself. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not safe. I am not safe. That feeling, however and wherever it shows up for you. Here's approach number 1, and we're going to go through all 3 of them. Here's approach number 1. If you believe, as I do, on a deep level, that all of life is connected, and every aspect of life is like every human is like a blade of grass, but we're all grass and it's life growing through all of us, then we are all connected, which means on a deep, deep, deep spiritual level, you can never be unsafe, because you are always held in the one fabric that is life. The idea that there is a you that is separate from life, right? It starts to fall apart when you dig a little deeper into it. And so the concept of safety also falls apart, because safety, the idea that I am not safe, is coming from an inherent separation. I am separate, I am individual, I am something distinct and different from, and thus I am not safe from this impacting upon me. But if we choose to reorient our thinking and identify with the grander perspective of life, guess what? Now you're part of. You are part of. So the idea that you as something separate are not safe within the totality that you are, it falls apart, right? So that's one approach. And I want to give 3 approaches, because I know that one approach might not be that helpful on a day-to-day basis, but I really want you to challenge yourself and what you really believe. Do you truly believe that all of life is connected and we are all aspects of life? Because if you do, then the idea that you have a personal safety to consider falls apart very quickly, right? It implies that there is something that is safety that is not in life's highest interest, right? Or God's highest interest, depending on how you look at it. It implies that you know better than something else. It implies that you have a different perspective than all of life. And on one level, yes, you do, because you're an individual ego. But if you truly believe that your individual ego is an aspect of the greater oneness, then the concept of personal safety falls apart. So I really want you to challenge yourself, if that's one of your beliefs about how life works. Challenge yourself to really sort of pull the thread on if you can truly be unsafe, right? Or if you are truly always held in the fabric of life. That's one approach. Second approach, and this one almost a year ago came to me very strongly. I was doing my first 30-day challenge to break a bad belief. It was the one I was doing personally for myself before I started offering them. And I was working on not being enough. And one of the issues that came up to me very strongly was like, okay, fine, if I am enough to do all these things that I want to do, then something might happen to me. I might be attacked. I might be physically attacked in the world. And if you're not new to me, but if you are, I'm going to tell you, my background involves sexual assault. And even if it didn't, we still get hurt, right? That's my version of pain and hurt and safety. But for other people, it can be emotional wounding that showed up in a different way. It can be physical concerns and safety that show up in a different way. We each have an aspect of safety. We can be worried about being abandoned. There's so many ways it can show up. But for me, it was really strongly showing up as I feel uncomfortable leaving the house. I feel uncomfortable putting myself out there knowing that people might argue with me. And that feeling of being powerless to respond, or that anger and rage coming towards me, was really triggering. And so I was feeling very stuck with my desires, my dreams, this part of me that wanted to expand and felt like I was really naturally big, and the part of me that was terrified, absolutely terrified to move forward and have anything bigger happen in my life. And what came to me, hey, thanks for joining. What came to me is I was doing this practice of tapping, and I filmed it actually. So if you're curious, I can share with you the sob fest that was this. And what occurred to me as I was tapping through this concept of I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe, was, you're right. I cannot protect myself. I cannot protect myself from every possible hurt and circumstance in life. I can walk out the door right after this video and be abducted and held captive for the rest of my life. That might happen. It could happen. In the grand scheme of possibility, that could happen. But I could love myself anyway. And this is the second approach to safety that I want to share with you. That you can love yourself anyway. Because so much of what we worry about with safety is the inner breaking. The resentment, the guilt, the shame that we feel, the worry that I will never recover, right? That I will never recover from something happening. And when you so boldly say to yourself and work on this, really like truly own this in yourself, I will love myself anyway. Or I could love myself anyway, or I can love myself anyway, or I'm willing to love myself anyway, right? Choose a verb that feels right for you. Then what you do is you take the element of whatever it is off the table. It stops holding the power. Because the power is now back with you, that no circumstance gets to decide how you feel about yourself. No circumstance gets to decide if you failed or if you're wrong as a human. The concept is mind-blowing and fundamentally flawed, but that's for a different video, right? So this second approach of I can love myself anyway, it frees you to take action, because what I discovered for me was that I was no longer holding back because of my own fears that I wouldn't be able to handle whatever happened. Not in the tangible reality of like being able to fight back or being able to find a lawyer or whatever the circumstances were, if I was legally attacked or physically attacked, but the emotional circumstances of not being able to withstand something that felt attacking to me. Hope you're following this, right? So this, I think, is a fundamental shift. It is fun, actually. Fundamental shift in how you view your safety is that it's not about protecting ourselves from the world. It's not about protecting ourselves from life and circumstances and what's possible. Because we don't want to miss out on what's possible, right? We want to open to all the amazing possibilities, which means we have to open, which means that there is potential for things that we might not desire to come into our lives or to happen to us. And in order to sort of give us an insurance policy on that on an emotional level, the answer is that we can love ourselves anyway. You can love yourself anyway, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. And this is the type of freedom that people who are imprisoned describe. This is the type of inner freedom that people like Nelson Mandela has described in his book, that Holocaust survivors have described. This is the inner freedom of I can love myself anyway, no matter what the world does to me or with me. And this gives us a deep, deep sense of personal safety, because now we're in a respect-based relationship with ourselves, right? And we're not going to abandon ourselves even if life abandons us. And this is really, really huge, because that deep inner fear of I'm not safe comes from worrying that we're not going to be there for ourselves. And I'm not saying this in the sense like, if somebody attacked me on the street, I will physically probably lose, right? There's no self-defense class in the world that can prepare me for somebody who's bigger and stronger than me. Or they could prepare me but not guarantee me, right? And I can love myself anyway. I don't have to blame myself. I don't have to shame myself. I don't have to live with regret and self-hate and all of that. I can love myself anyway. And so my concept of safety has changed. I am not at war with myself. I can still take actions to prevent things. I can still take actions to build my confidence. We're going to get into the third approach here. But I am not at war with myself or my future self or what I'm afraid, the fear of my own inner struggle in the future, right? If you have any questions about this, I know it's a little bit of a deep concept. Feel free to pop them below. We've covered the 2 approaches so far. Got a text message. We've covered the 2 approaches so far. So the first approach is that if you truly believe that you are part of life and life is one whole, then the idea of individual safety is just null and void. So dig into that. The second approach is I can love myself anyway. You can love yourself anyway. And gifting yourself the personal freedom of being there with yourself and being there for yourself, right? And here's the third approach. So here's a more tangible one. So if you, whoa, hello, elf ears, hair. So here's the third approach. And this is if you want to take some tangible action for a specific circumstance. So say, I'm just looking down at my notes here. Okay. So I'm going to talk about where the locus of safety is. And if I'm misusing that word, sorry, what I mean is the center point. Where is the center point of this? So this is the third approach. Where is the locus of safety? So say you want to be like, you're like me and you're in an industry that that benefits from you showing up, right? And like talking and sharing stuff about how you think and how you feel in the world, which doesn't mean you have a job like this. It could mean that you work in an office and you have to present at meetings, right? And you're scared of public speaking. Like if there's an element that has visibility, so maybe you're scared of being more visible. Because, oh, hey, hi, thanks for joining. So we're just getting into the third approach, so you'll have to go back and watch the first 2. I'm trying to get these a little quicker than my typical 40 or 50-minute videos. So say that you want to be more visible, right? You want to just share more about what's true for you. But you're afraid that people might be mad at you, people might discredit you, people might argue with you. So we can ask ourselves, okay, well, in that circumstance, so say I want to speak up at a meeting, where is the locus of safety? Meaning at that moment where I confront that fear and I speak in that meeting, where is it that I have the ability to feel safer? Is it by putting duct tape over everybody in the meeting's mouths? No, right? That's not the way I can make myself more safe. Is it that perhaps I want to feel more researched? I want to feel more solid in my opinions. I want to feel more in integrity in the way that I'm showing up and what I say versus what I do. Maybe I'm just looking down my notes because I wrote some great ones. Maybe it's knowing really clearly what my values are so that I know where I'm willing to budge and willing to grow, and where I'm not willing to because that's a boundary and something I deeply believe in, right? So these are actionable things. These are places where we can take tangible action to strengthen our own sense of safety. The trouble is when we think about safety in this context, like, well, I'm afraid to speak in public, we're typically thinking about the thing that's happening. Well, I have to speak in public and I don't want to because public is there and they're looking at me and they're judging me or they're shaming me or they're blah, blah, blah. We're thinking about them. But the question is, where is the locus of safety? Where is that center point of safety in that moment? And in public speaking or speaking in a meeting or speaking like this, the locus of safety is in yourself. And that could be slightly different, right? It's in that I'm in integrity and my words match my experience. and the actions, and I actually speak what I believe and what I know to be true. It could be that I know my values. And so I know where criticism can actually help me is constructive and can help me grow, and where it's not actually, it's crossing a line. It could be in knowing my expertise. So I know that I'm speaking on something that can be valuable and provide input that other people might not have, right? So there's different ways to bolster our sense of safety in this example, depending on where that locus of safety lies for you. So you can ask yourself that, where does the center of safety lie in this circumstance? So here's another one. So maybe we're worried that we'll be abandoned. So it's not safe for me to be me. It's not safe for me to share my opinions. It's not safe for me to express myself because I'll be abandoned, right? Or some version of this, but we'll go with this example. So in that case, you can ask yourself, where does the locus of safety lie? Is it that I'm afraid I don't have a plan B, and so I'll never recover? And if I'm abandoned and everything goes wrong and sideways, that I won't be able to ever get myself back together again? In that case, your locus of safety and your action to create that safety and bolster that safety is to create a plan B, right? Where are you going to go? What kind of job can you have? Knowing that you have skills to get jobs, knowing that you have the ability to move other places. Let me just read this comment just to hold on why I would get to the point where I had no money. I get to be saved and feel loved and safe. Yes. So these three approaches, I'd love you to think through, Brandy, all three of them. And I apologize if I mispronounced that. Think through all three of them because they all relate to money. They all relate to money and safety. And that's a really great point. She says that sometimes we get ourselves to a point of feeling unsafe in order to feel safe, right? Because we're looking at safety as something outside of ourselves that somebody else provides, instead of finding the sense of safety within. So these three approaches are about finding that sense of safety within, because this is exactly what I was doing last year when I had this realization around safety, which was I was looking to be saved. I was looking for money to be saved, other people to be saved, circumstances to save me. I was looking for the environment to save me. Like, if I control the environment and the environment is 100% safe, then I am safe, which of course is never true. The environment is not 100% safe from a physical safety perspective. This physical body can be harmed, right? And so I was always hitting up on that disconnect. Like, how can I convince myself that I'm safe when I am inherently not safe? And what came to me in that moment of really pushing it, like, but it's not true. It's not true. I can't brainwash myself into saying that I'm safe when I know that this body can die. What came to me was, but I can love myself anyway. I can love myself if I'm harmed. I can love myself if I'm hurt. I can love myself if my physical body has to change. I can love myself if the circumstances I'm in change. I can love myself. And then I got to the first realization, which was, oh, I'm not even sure safety exists as a concept if we're all one. Because it was so rooted in fears based in individuality. And if we believe that life is living through all of us, then the idea of safety as an individual concept gets a little bit skewed. Yes. Oh, exactly. Yeah. Yes. So this for me last January, when I decided to face head on these feelings of I'm not enough and I'm not safe, because I was just feeling trauma all the time, and I was back in rape trauma counseling and I was doing some really great work, but I was still hitting up on this, but I'm not safe. But yeah, great for you, but it's not safe for me. Like, I'm so glad you are able to share your deep opinions, but it's not safe for me. This is exactly where that came from. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so the third, going back to this third approach is about tangible action. And to get to the tangible action of how can we make ourselves feel safer, meaning how can we resource ourselves so that we know we have the inner resources and capacities and capabilities to gift ourselves safety, then we ask ourselves, where is the locus of safety in this example? So if the example, I'm just looking down my notes, if the example is, okay, I'm going to be abandoned if I do this thing or I speak up, one locus of safety may be, well, I won't have a plan, I won't have a backup plan. So then the tangible action there is, well, start thinking about your backup plan, right? That you can just get a job. You can move to a new town. You can create a savings account and start to prepare so that you just know you've got your own back. You can broaden your friend base. Like if you're worried about being abandoned, you can broaden your friend base. Try saying that 3 times fast. You can join clubs. You can join associations. You can like, what's that word? Like mix in with lots of different groups. We'll put it that way. Mix in. I was going to say infiltrate, but that's not the right word. But mix in with lots of different groups so that you feel like your network is broader than perhaps the 2 or 3 people or groups that trigger that feeling of I might be abandoned and it's going to destroy me. So that you just have more going on. You have more depth. You have more resilience, right? You have more resilience. You could explore being alone with yourself. Some of us don't like the idea of being abandoned because we don't want to be with ourselves. And that's a great time to look to a therapist or look to a coach if therapy's not, the right outlet for you, to help you explore, or even a meditation teacher, to help you explore that what it's like to be alone. What am I really afraid of? What approaches can I take to being with myself so that I'm not worried about having to be with myself? So in this third approach, which is asking yourself, where is the locus of safety? What you're really doing is giving yourself an opportunity to take tangible action to beef up your own sense of I got my back, right? That you've got your own back. So each of these 3 approaches you can tell are really different and on really different levels. The first one's this uber spiritual. If all of life is one, then does safety really exist as a concept? No. The second one is deeply emotional. And again, on a higher level, I can love myself anyway. I can love myself anyway. And that's a deep resonance. That's a deep I've got my own back. Because it's not I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to protect myself. I'm able to take actions. I'm able to do this. It's above the level of action. And if it still all goes wrong, I'm okay with me, right? Because that last level of abandoning yourself, of blaming yourself, of shaming yourself, that's the heartbreaking one. That's the heartbreaking level. And so this I can love myself anyway can be very freeing when it comes to thinking about our personal safety and feeling safe with ourselves. It's building trust with yourself, right? That I will love myself anyway. And the idea I will love, you notice I use the words I can love myself anyway. Because that verbiage, that I can, that it's possible that I could love myself anyway, that to me was more of an opening, because it wasn't something when this first came to me last January and I was doing this tapping, it wasn't that I did already love myself no matter what. It's that I realized that the possibility of being able to love myself, even if the worst things in the world happened, that's where I would find a sense of freedom and safety, was in knowing that I would be there for myself. So I'm not trying to sort of put a positive affirmation in your head of I love myself anyway. I love myself anyway. That's not what we're saying. What I'm saying is that the potential that I can love myself anyway helped me take the charge out of the fear of what might happen. Because I gave myself an opening that I might not also desert myself, right? I hope you're getting this. So find the verb that works, the verb structure that works best for you. But for me, it was that I can love myself anyway, that it's possible that I can love myself no matter what. And if that's true, then I am always safe with myself. That's really powerful. That's a huge gift. And it really changes everything. My confidence and ability to show up in the world has changed dramatically over the last year. And I credit many things, but I credit this realization that I had last January, that I can love myself anyway. And so I am safe with myself as being foundational in my ability to start to live more in integrity with how I want to be in the world. Meaning show up, right? And speak. I get to love myself anyway. Yeah, perfect. Great. Yeah, play around with it. Choose the one that's right for you. I am not the end all be all of how things need to be phrased because the words always fall short, right? Like this is one thing about language is language comes after emotion, language comes after concepts, language comes after the soul. And so these bigger concepts, which are feeling-based concepts, which are emotion and spiritually based concepts, language is never going to fit them 100%. And sometimes the words change as our own understanding of the nuance of the emotions and the spiritual level understanding changes. So it's okay to change words, and it's okay to have different words, and it's okay to play around with words, and it's okay to change your own words because you are just adapting to your own depth of, what's the right word? Perfect example here. You're adapting to your own depth of sort of connection with how you feel and what's true for you, or what is the truth within you. And then the third approach is about taking these tangible steps to say, where is the locus of safety in this specific example? So say you want to make videos like this, and you're terrified because you think people are gonna, I don't know, leave hate comments. Okay, well, where's the locus of safety in that? The locus of safety is in my response. Okay, well, what are my options for how I could respond? I could delete comments. I could turn the commenting off so I never see it. I could make a video and not share it, at least getting used to the video thing. I could share it with friends first. Like there's actions that you can take when you realize where the locus of safety is. So this is not, I'm not talking about the approach in terms of what the actions are because those will change, but the question, where is the locus of safety in whatever it is that you are afraid of? Putting yourself out there, approaching a potential love interest, asking somebody on a date, looking for a new job, moving to a new country, getting a dog, whatever the action is that you have fear about, where is the locus of safety? And it almost always is in you. And then the question is, okay, well, what can I do in this specific example, in this specific circumstance to bolster my own sense of confidence and safety? Yeah. Okay. So those are the 3 approaches to personal safety. And I hope this has been really helpful for you. Like I said, this was pretty life-changing for me and continues to be life-changing for me. And I think, well, I know that all of us on some level deal with this question of personal safety. And it is not meant to be, in my opinion, it is not meant to be, fear is not meant to be something that necessarily holds you back from the things that you really desire. And when you feel the desire to expand or to express more or to try something new or to create more, and the thought keeps coming and the impulse keeps coming and the feeling keeps coming and you're not doing it because of fear, then it's worth looking into these 3 questions, these 3 approaches to safety, and asking yourself, okay, well, what's really going on here? What's really going on here? Why do I keep having the desire, and why do I keep facing the fear, and where is there room here to grow? And I'm hoping that these 3 approaches gave you a pathway to move forward. Lovely. Okay. Thank you, and talk to you soon. Mwah.